All right. Welcome to Are They Out There? Again, like I tell you all the time, email me at are they out there, the number one at gmail.com. Send me your ideas, send me stories, anything you'd like, but also please put in your text or your messages to let me know that I can use it on air or you don't want it used on air because I don't want to do anything that would make anybody mad out there. And with that being said, we have a guest tonight who's going to be part of the podcast from here on out, and it's Mr. Stuart McKenzie. How are you, Stuart?
Good, man. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Hey, I want to give an update real quick too on the Bigfoot stuff, the film
Yeah,
clip
yeah,
that I had.
yeah. All
So I sent it to 3 universities,
right.
and I sent it up to Pocatello, to the university up there, to Professor Meldrum.
Yeah.
Uh, Meldrum came back and said that it is shadows. It is
Chef.
the way the person held the camera.
Uh,
I've let this person know that this is what it was. And it was the way they moved the camera around
yeah.
that this shadow of a tree that had this hulking look to it.
Yeah.
As they panned this way, it made it look like the
It was
tree moved into the forest,
okay.
and it
Got
it really looked like an animal. But the other 2 universities were like, there's no animal in the picture.
yeah,
But
yeah,
Meldrum had some other people that with the video stuff. So that's the update. It wasn't a Bigfoot,
yeah.
but
Well,
that's what we're here for. We're here to just give the honest truth about things like that.
I mean, like, I'll put it this way: that they found molars. They found things in Asia that 100% represent a large ape that truly did exist at one point in time. You know what I mean? And we have like great white sharks through every extinction throughout the world. You know what I mean? We've had 5 mass extinctions throughout Earth's history, right?
Right.
White shark and all the plant, like all the life in the sea has made it through that. You know what I mean? So there's possibilities. You never know. Especially for something that big and that with that much agility and able to cover that much distance. I mean, it's
Right.
a possibility. You know what I mean? Like there has to be something said that around the world there's not a culture that does not have a Bigfoot story.
That's so true. And the area that you live in and up in Washington State, I mean, there's
Like,
so much undiscovered.
yeah, Bobby is calling me right now. Hold on.
Oh,
Yeah, everybody. Okay, so yeah, if you
uh,
want to message side maybe, but yeah, like just let him know we're on. But so
right.
but either way, but I'm sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, up where you live and up in Washington and all that, there's so much forest up there that hasn't even been mapped or walked through by man yet.
But yeah, there's and especially there's some crazy stuff. I live in Washington State. We have 5 active volcanoes. You know what I mean? And if you really want to get to like the down and the dirty of these places, I mean, it's legit. You know what I mean? Where like
Right.
I mean, so I climbed Mount Rainier. I climbed it probably about 5 years ago, and I remember going up on top of that and looking around, and just being able to see above the clouds and be able to see. I could see Seattle. I could see all the way to Idaho. You know what I mean? Like just it was absolutely breathtaking and amazing, and just to be able to the amount of stuff where it's a possibility. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting when I remember being young and they had like a section in the library of like, where in elementary school and it had like Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, these, what I mean, and all these just,
Right.
what's it called? Cryptozoology. Was it
Yeah.
the one that,
Cryptozoology.
yeah, cryptozoology. Yeah. Yeah. And so, well, a very small section, but yay big, right? And now as we get older, we're talking there's legit like people trying to get degrees and whatnot and being able to be like the world's foremost experts. And there's other times too, and I've met some people that they found like a scat and they've been able to take that in and give it to professors, and they're like, this is anything I've ever seen. You know what I mean? This is,
Right. Yeah. They pull the DNA from it.
yeah, 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 yeah. And there's
Yes.
this one just watching this one. I think it was on Netflix, and there was a guy, and he spent his entire life out there, kind of going around. But they found one, and essentially it resorted back to like, have you ever seen like Hills Have Eyes, or like
I've heard of it, but not seen it.
Or so there's a movie called like Wrong Turn, like basically like like people like out like hillbillies out in the woods. They're like
Right.
it's like it's human, but it's not us. If that makes
Right.
sense. Yeah, yeah. But they were like, yeah, this is 100% like that. It was in. Damn, Bobby's calling again. All right, here. What do you think? Press accept and hold on.
It's
Actually,
all right. Yeah.
all right. Hold on. I'll be right. I'm sorry. I
All right.
apologize. Hold on.
Tell you what, I'm going to pause the recording and then go ahead and take his call. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There we
All
go.
right. There we
Okay.
go. We're good. We're
Yeah.
back.
No, but it's yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. Like it's kind of hectic. It's evolving. We're making this happen. Takes a second. We'll get it fucking straightened out. I promise. But
Right. We're trying to get our third guest in here.
yeah, our third guest, Bobby, which is he's hilarious. He is he's a character, that's for sure. But yeah, no. So Bobby, to get a little bit back, yeah, hopefully he's able to join here pretty quick. He had a very promising MMA career. You know what I mean? Like, so he
Right.
trains number of UFC fighters. Bobby was also in the military. Did a number of deployments. Yeah, he's got quite the story to tell. You know what I mean? Especially he was the mechanic on Discovery Channel's Fast, like was the racing one, Fast and Loud.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Was it? I think it might have been Fast and
Yeah,
Loud. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
that's one thing that I want everybody to know out there. We're all veterans.
yeah, yeah. And we're all
Both
veterans, right?
that for this podcast and for future podcasts. We're a team and we're all veterans. And, it's a good brotherhood.
It is, man. It is. It is such. It's just wild, you know. I mean, especially like as you get older, as things progress in life, um, like you'll never when you're young and like so I'm gonna turn 42 this year, right? And like sometimes you just don't ever think it's gonna end. You know what I mean? From the time you're
Right.
18, 25, you're like, this is this is life. This is what it is. And yeah, I know. As I'm older, getting perspective and being able to, kind of look back, like, man, those really were like everyone else went off to college and frat houses and this and this and this. And I remember, yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. I would not change a thing because it was some pretty cool fucking years. It was pretty cool.
Right. Right. Well, I dropped out of high school and went right down to the recruiting station. And the recruiter for the Coast Guard was like, come up to my house and take the test. And went up there, took all the tests, and away I went. They
Yeah,
didn't care back then.
here's actually when I first, I'm glad you mentioned that. When I first went to MEPS, which is like for everyone to know, MEPS is basically where you have to go and get your physical, your blood work, and sign all your paperwork, and it's yeah, thing in order. Originally, what I was going to do was going to go in the Coast Guard, but last minute I chose to go into the Army, and so yeah, it was. But Coast Guard. Here's the thing: is that I have not met one person that did 4 years in the Coast Guard. Everyone who joins the Coast Guard does 20. You know what I mean? Everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's such a cool job from what I've gathered.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. I mean, I spent a year on Iwo Jima, and
Really?
one of my first podcasts, yeah, was about Iwo, where the paranormal part of stuff. I mean,
Oh,
I think it was like
that might,
55,000 men or 60,000 men died on an island 2 miles wide and 4 miles long.
yeah.
And the things that happened on that island while I was there in 81, 82, I mean, I don't, it was so weird there, man. So,
Yeah. I mean, I've read, I'm a history buff and I thoroughly enjoy reading about, just, people's trials. Cause, you got to think to yourself, it's just like you said, a 2 mile wide island and that much death there,
right.
because and and whether, you don't believe in it, what your beliefs are, this, that, and the other, the bottom line is that energy does not end. You know what I mean? Like there's no point in time you can kill energy, you can't destroy it. It will always transfer. Our bodies have, essentially our 12-volt, D batteries. And so like that energy will transfer on. It will, you know what I mean? Like there is something like, it is so wild when you come down to like, as far as mathematics and, string theory, and then you have like, the Drake, yeah, everything in this life will always come back to like full circle. You know what I mean? And
Right.
whether we're just sitting in the, in the cosmos, like you actually sit there and think to yourself, you're like, we are like we somehow a flaming ball is traveling through a void of space, and these little tiny dots are circling it as it goes, being pulled by its gravity through space, and we're somehow sitting here on electronics that we've made from nothing, you know what I mean, and been able to train, and now we're talking to each other from, you know, miles and miles and miles apart. It's
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. We're in what, about
where
3-4 states apart.
yeah, so where did your I guess not like your interest in Bigfoot? Because yeah, so if you had to pick one, the paranormal, Bigfoot, or UFOs, which one is your like that's your bread and butter?
Bread and butter, probably the paranormal.
Really?
Yeah. I used to have what, this is like 35 years ago, because I'll be 61 this year, man.
Really? Oh, okay.
Um,
Cool.
yeah.
Congratulations.
So about 35 years ago, I had a website called the Salt Lake City Ghosts and Hauntings Research Society.
Okay.
And I started doing these investigations, but I always went into it with the idea of I'm going to explain everything that happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of the things we couldn't explain, and actually one of the voices we caught on tape was used in the movie White Noise.
Yeah, I was about to say, so that's called white noise for everyone listening. Explain white noise to everybody.
Well, white noise is just that background or that hissing you'll hear on a radio. Um, the static in the TV. Well, I guess nowadays TVs just don't go off. Back in the
They don't.
day, they would go off air, and you would just have like this noise and a white screen with black dots going all over the place, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's what they consider white noise. But we caught in the Capitol Theater in Salt Lake. It was a woman's voice at the end of the night, and you can hear my friend Troy zipping up his bag, and this voice just goes, get out of my house," and it was on the recorder. We never heard it until we listened to the recorder.
Yeah, though, like, oh my gosh, I've heard, yeah. So white noise is probably, so I live right. So the house I live in now, so it's probably like 2.5 miles that way. So we moved here for my daughter, so she could do like the school district. We want to be in the school district we're
Right.
in right now. But this old house, and I remember, oh my, there were so many times. So we lived in this house for, so it's 2 stories, right? 2 stories. First story is we lived in this house probably like 7 years, 7, 8 years. And then we and my wife never talked about this. So when we moved out, the day we moved out, like, hey, I just want to like, so did you ever hear like music playing when you lay down to go to sleep? She's like, I never wanted to say anything, but yes. So for 7 years, like we're basically listening to this music as we go to bed that we could not figure out when, but it was a radio. It was somebody's radio somewhere. I don't know. We're like, if you can imagine like an alarm clock that's buried underneath the house, and that would just go on at certain times. It was that clear. You know what I mean? But it
Wow.
was like faint. But I mean, but we could never figure out the channel. And I have no how many times I went out to my truck and tried to like dial in to figure out, like, you know, because it was a genre. It was like, it wasn't like it was just random music. It was a certain thing. But at the same point in time, we're just like, where is this coming from? You know what I mean?
Right.
And this, like, we lived next to this guy, and he actually had paranormal ghost hunters come out to his house. They
Oh,
set up
wow.
a, yeah. So he showed me this video, and his daughter was about to eat something, and she goes, you know, come up here, and then all of a sudden he gets like almost like slapped out of her hand, and she was just like, yeah, man. And she's probably like 1.5, like there's no way she could act it out or like, you know, be like part of like, you know, the video, but she was just like confused, like, where did my food go? You know what I mean? And there's
Right.
little going around all the time in his videos and whatnot.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
yeah.
So, Stuart, what we're going to do is we're going to do a 2-part video tonight.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're going to do, we'll end part 1 here, and then we'll start here again in just a couple minutes. Okay.
Awesome. I love it.